Lanhee, it's going to kind of percolate in the background for a while, don't you think? I mean,
yeah.
I don't mean to suggest we're not going to get headlines about this and that and the other, but from a market point of view, do we just ignore it all until, give it a month or so and then see where we are?
I wouldn't make plans around the 4th of July holiday. Let me put it that way. I think that a lot of these discussions are going to end up extending probably into the summer because of the contentious issues that you raised. I mean, the SALT deduction is one example of where there's a strong constituency in the House, not as much in the Senate. You don't have swing district Republicans in the Senate as much. And so that dynamic is going to change a lot more. I think there'll be a lot of conversations around Medicaid. There's some political questions there as well as some actual policy disputes. So I just think that we are going to hear a lot of noise of back and forth. And as was the case with the House bill, we're not going to see crystallization of that until right before the vote happens. And so really it's that last week that ends up being crucial, not necessarily these next several weeks. Again, a lot of noise, a lot of back and forth.
How do tariffs factor into all of this? How does the back and forth on trade, if it affects it at all?
Well, I think it creates the animating factor around the macroeconomy. I mean, really, if you think about tariffs, really the challenge there is the impact on markets, the impact in terms of how people see the urgency of doing the tax bill. Remember, the administration's point of view on the tax bill is that it's an important part of continuing strong economic growth. It's an important part.
I think of it as a stimulus bill.
Absolutely.
And so it's sort of like the worse it's looking on the tariff front, the more you need the bill to pass. But all of a sudden, if it looks okay on the tariff and trade front, then maybe some of that pressure goes away.
Some of that pressure goes away. So I think the tariff conversation, particularly the conversation with China, that's really the one we need to be paying attention to. That's what I call the big overhang. That's the bill we really need to be worried about, the negotiation we really need to be worried about. And that's obviously in a tough place right now.
How would you gauge it? Again, and I know this isn't the area that you've most spent your career working on or anything like that, but just watching informally and thinking through the economics. Is it still moving along, or do you think we're still years away from a real deal and anything really of substance coming through?
I think that there are some short-term issues that can be addressed with China relatively easily and relatively quickly. I think that's what Geneva was about in some part. This discussion we're having now, the rare earths versus the semiconductors, look, the U.S. was never going to agree to loosen restrictions with respect to some of our biggest exports in some of the most sensitive technology areas. So for the Chinese to make that claim is ludicrous. The idea that the Chinese have not been moving quickly enough on the rare earth piece, that I certainly believe. I do think that this is an important, critical element to our auto industry. It's critical to so many different areas in the U.S. We do need China to move more quickly on some of those export licenses, and they haven't.